The abandonment, the field shook with a heavy sound. The ground trembled as the giant harvester rolled forward, its blades turning like silver teeth, cutting everything in its path. The sky above was gray, filled with smoke and dust. The machines never stopped. They moved day and night, tearing through the land without mercy. She was only a small girl, her skin pale under the dim light. Her family stood around her, faces cold, eyes full of fear. They whispered quickly, but she could not hear all the words. She only heard one thing, that she was too weak, too small, and not worth saving. The father pushed her forward, closer to the rumbling blades. The mother turned her head away, holding the stronger children tightly. None of them looked back at her. It was as if she had already vanished. Her heart raced, she could not move. Her legs shook like dry branches in the wind. The harvester roared louder, the smell of oil and fire filling the air. It was coming closer and closer. The girl tried to call out, but her voice was weak. The sound was lost in the thunder of the machine. Her family walked away without turning around. Step by step, they disappeared into the line of workers. Leaving her alone, tears filled her eyes. But she wiped them quickly, crying would not help, nobody cared. She had been left for the blades, left to be crushed like dry stalks in the field. The machine drew near. Metal teeth glinted in the smoke. The earth shook as if a giant was walking. She could almost feel the sharp edges cutting the ground. Her small hands covered her ears. The sound was too loud, it was the sound of death. The harvester slowed for a moment, scanning the ground with red glowing lights. The girl froze, its sensors saw everything. There was no escape, her chest hurt with fear. She tried to step back, but her feet were trapped in mud. She pulled hard, but the mud held her like chains. The blades turned faster, the roar rising higher. This was the end, but then, through the smoke, another figure appeared. A man, tall and strange. His face was different from all the others. His skin was human, not alien. His eyes were sharp, watching. His hands were calloused from hard work. He had been working near the harvesters. Just another laborer in the endless fields, but when he saw her, he stopped. His eyes locked on the small figure standing frozen before the blades. For one moment he hesitated, he knew the rules. One life did not matter here. The machines could not be delayed. The overseers punished anyone who tried. The smart thing would be to look away, but he did not look away. He ran. The girl saw him through her tears. A shadow racing toward her, boots pounding on the dirt. His voice cut through the thunder of the machine, sharp and strong. "Move!" he shouted, though he knew she could not. With one leap he reached her. His strong hands pulled her from the mud. Lifting her small body with ease, the blades screamed behind them. Cutting closer, throwing sparks into the air. He held her tight, turning his body to shield her. He could feel the heat of the machine, smell the burning metal. Just a second more, and they would both be gone. But his legs pushed forward with all his strength. He dove away, rolling across the hard earth as the harvester screamed past. The blades sliced the ground where they had been only moments before. Dust and smoke filled the air. The girl clung to him, shaking. She had been seconds from death, but this stranger had saved her. The machine kept moving, never stopping. It did not care who lived or died. It only harvested, always harvesting. The man crouched low. Holding her close, his heart raced, his breath came heavy. He knew the overseers must have seen what he did. They always watched. They would not forgive this. The girl looked up at him with wide eyes, her lips trembled. "Why?" she whispered. Her voice was so soft he almost did not hear. He stared at her, dust covering his face, sweat dripping from his brow. For a moment he had no answer. He had acted without thinking. But deep inside he knew the truth, because she was a child. Because no one deserved to be left for the blades. Because he could not watch and do nothing. The overseers' voices echoed across the fields. Harsh and angry, they shouted in their strange tongue, demanding to know why the harvester had slowed. Their searchlights cut through the dust, sweeping across the land. The man stood quickly, still holding her. His eyes darted to the shadows. He knew they had only moments. If they stayed, they would both be taken. Punished, maybe worse. "Quiet," he whispered to her, pulling her toward a dark trench at the edge of the field. The overseers' voices grew louder, their steps marching closer. The girl buried her face against his chest. Her heart still beating fast. She had been left to die. But now someone carried her, protected her. For the first time in her short life, she felt something strange, something she could not name, hope. And as the harvester's red lights cut through the smoke, Searching, the man and the girl slipped into the shadows. Unseen, hunted but still alive. The trench was dark and narrow. The man held the girl close as they crouched low, breathing hard. Dust fell from the walls, and the sound of the harvester rumbled above them, shaking the earth like thunder. The girl was trembling in his arms. Her small fingers clung to his shirt. She had no words, only wide eyes full of fear. She could still hear the blades turning outside, still smell the burning oil. The man pressed a finger to his lips. His eyes moved quickly, scanning the trench for danger. The overseers were close, their voices echoed across the fields. Sharp and angry, they shouted orders, their searchlights slicing through the smoke like knives. He knew what was coming. The overseers would not forgive him for this. Saving her had broken their law. Here, no one was allowed to waste time. No one was allowed to stop the machines, but he had done it anyway. The girl whispered, her voice shaking, "They will find us." The man looked at her. His jaw was tight, his voice was low but firm. "Not if we move." Carefully, he set her down on her feet. Her legs shook, but he held her hand. Pulling her deeper into the trench, the ground was damp, and the walls were lined with broken roots. It smelled of dirt and old metal. Above them, a beam of light swept across the opening. The girl gasped. But the man quickly pulled her against the wall. His hand covered her mouth gently. His heart pounded as the overseer's voice roared, so close it shook the trench. The light moved on, the footsteps faded. For now they were safe. The man let out a slow breath, his grip loosened. The girl looked up at him again, her voice quiet. "Why did you help me?" He stared at her for a long moment. His face was hard, but his eyes softened. "Because no one else would," he said. His voice was steady, but heavy with truth. The girl swallowed. Her own people had left her behind. Yet this stranger, this human, had risked everything. It was something she could not understand. The man crouched down, his hand resting on her shoulder. "Listen to me," he whispered. "We cannot stay here. They will keep searching until they find us. We need to move." She nodded slowly, though fear still shone in her eyes. Her small voice cracked. "Where will we go?" He looked away, scanning the trench, his mind racing. "Somewhere they cannot follow," he said, though he was not sure where that place was. They began to move step by step through the darkness. The trench twisted and turned, leading them farther from the harvesters. The sound of the blades faded, but the voices of the overseers still echoed in the distance. The girl tripped on a loose rock. Falling to her knees, the man quickly lifted her up. His arms strong, steady. "Careful," he murmured. "Stay close to me." As they walked, the girl asked again, her voice trembling, "Who are you?" He glanced at her, his face shadowed. "Just a worker," he said, "like the rest." Then, after a pause, he added softly, "But not like the rest." The trench opened into a wide chamber, lit by faint glowing moss on the walls. It was cold, damp, but hidden. The man set her down. His eyes searched the shadows, making sure they were alone. The girl sank to the ground, her chest rising and falling quickly. Her voice broke. "They wanted me to die, my family. They left me." Her words hung heavy in the air. The man's fists tightened. He could see the pain in her eyes, the betrayal that cut deeper than the blades of the harvesters. He knelt beside her, his voice low but strong. "You are alive, that is what matters. They may have left you, but I did not." The girl blinked. Her tears glistened in the faint light. She whispered, "Why do you care? You are not one of us." The man looked at her, his eyes hard. "Because I know what it feels like to lose someone." His voice shook for the first time, heavy with old memory, "and I will not let it happen again." Before she could answer, the sound of footsteps echoed down the trench, sharp and metallic. "Overseers." The man stood quickly, pulling the girl to her feet. His voice urgent, "Quiet, they are here." A beam of light cut into the chamber. Bright and blinding, the shadows fled. The overseer's voice thundered, full of rage. The man pulled the girl behind him. His body shielded hers, he whispered, "Stay behind me. No matter what happens." The overseer stepped into view, its tall frame covered in armor, its face hidden behind a metal mask. In its hand, a weapon glowed with deadly light. The girl gasped, clutching the man's arm. Her heart raced. The overseer's voice was cold. "You dare slow the harvest? You dare save the weak?" The man did not move. His eyes locked on the overseer. His jaw tight, he said nothing. The overseer raised its weapon. The chamber glowed red. The girl cried out. But the man stood firm, His voice broke the silence. Low and defiant, "She is not weak," he said. The overseer hissed, its mask twisting like a snarl. The weapon hummed louder, charging with light. The girl squeezed her eyes shut, waiting for the end. But before the overseer could strike, the ground shook, dust rained from the ceiling. A roar filled the air, another harvester rolling above the trench, its heavy blades tearing through the earth. The overseer turned its head sharply, distracted for a single moment. It looked away. The man seized that moment. His hand grabbed a broken pipe from the wall. He swung it with all his strength. The weapon cracked against the overseer's mask. Sparks flew. The overseer staggered back, roaring, "Run!" the man shouted, pulling the girl toward the dark tunnel beyond the chamber. Her legs barely moved, but she trusted him. She ran, holding his hand tightly behind them. The overseer's scream echoed, full of rage, full of promise. They had escaped death again, but not for long. The tunnel carried them far from the overseer's chamber. The man and the girl moved quickly, their breaths heavy. The sound of the harvesters still rumbled above, their blades tearing through the fields without rest when they finally stopped. The girl leaned against the wall, shaking. Her small chest rose and fell as she gasped for air. The man crouched beside her, scanning the shadows. His eyes never stopped moving, always watching. He knew the overseers would not give up. They had seen his defiance, they had heard his words. To them, he was now a traitor. To them, the girl was nothing more than waste. The girl whispered, her voice trembling. "They will keep looking, they never stop." The man nodded slowly. "I know," he said. His voice was low but steady. "That is why we must stay ahead of them." As they rested, the girl's eyes wandered to the cracks in the wall. Through the gaps, she could see the endless fields above, lit by pale moons. She saw rows of workers moving like shadows, bent and silent. The harvesters crawled across the land like giant beasts, their blades shining in the night, she whispered. "This is our world." Her words were heavy, her face pale. "The overseers rule and the machines eat everything. We work until we fall. If we cannot work, we are left behind." The man watched her carefully. He had seen this world with his own eyes, but hearing it from her lips gave it weight. He asked softly, "How long has it been this way?" She shook her head slowly. "Always," she said, her voice broke. "Since before I was born, before my parents were born. It never changes. The overseers come, the machines cut, the people obey. Those who resist are gone." The man's fists clenched. His heart burned with anger on his homeworld. Children were not left to die. Weakness did not mean worthlessness. But here everything was measured by labor, by strength, by how much you could give the overseers. The girl lowered her head. "When they saw I was small, they knew I could not work, they knew I was useless, so they left me. It is normal here," her voice shook. "But it still hurt." The man knelt beside her, his voice firm. "You are not useless." He held her gaze until she looked back at him. "Do you understand? You are alive, and that is reason enough." For the first time, a flicker of confusion crossed her face. No one had ever told her such words. Not her family, not her people, not anyone. But before she could answer, the rumble above grew louder. A harvester passed over the tunnel, its blades shrieking against the earth. Dust rained down. The girl flinched and covered her ears. The man steadied her, his hand on her shoulder. "Stay strong," he whispered when the machine moved on. Silence returned for a moment. They both breathed slowly. But peace did not last long. From the far end of the tunnel, faint lights appeared. "Overseer patrols," their voices echoed. Harsh and sharp, the man's jaw tightened. He grabbed the girl's hand, pulling her deeper as they ran. The tunnel split into many paths, dark and twisting. The man chose quickly. Trusting his instincts, the walls dripped with water. The air was heavy and cold. The girl stumbled, but he pulled her forward, never letting go. Finally, they reached a small opening that led outside. They climbed out, gasping as fresh night air hit their lungs. Before them stretched the world of harvesters. Endless fields of alien crops swayed under the pale moons. The harvesters crawled across them like giant insects, their glowing eyes scanning everything. Thousands of workers bent low, their bodies broken, their faces empty. Overseers stood on high towers, weapons glowing, watching without mercy. The girl pointed with a trembling hand. "This is what I told you," she whispered. "This is all there is, work, obey, die." The man's chest tightened. He had known suffering before, but never like this. To see an entire world trapped under the blades of machines and the boots of overseers was more than he could bear. He spoke through clenched teeth. "This is not life. This is slavery. The girl looked at him, her eyes wide. Slavery? She repeated. The word was new to her. Yes, the man said. His voice was heavy with fire. Where I come from, no child is left for death. No family is forced to feed machines with their own blood. This is not how it should be. The girl's lips parted. Her heart pounded. She wanted to believe him. But all she had ever known was this world of blades and orders. As they stood there, a sudden horn sounded across the fields. The overseers were calling. The workers froze, looking up. The harvesters stopped moving. The air grew tense. The man pulled the girl back into the shadows, his voice urgent. They are searching again. From the towers, beams of red light spread out. Scanning the fields, the overseers barked orders. Their metallic voices carried through the night. The girl clutched his hand, whispering, "They will find us." The man's jaw tightened, his voice was steady. Not if we keep moving, but deep inside he knew the truth. The overseers controlled everything here. The harvesters saw everything. To escape would mean more than running. It would mean fighting. The girl did not see the storm building in his eyes, but she felt the strength of his hand. Steady, unyielding. She drew a shaky breath. For the first time, a tiny spark of courage touched her heart. As the overseer's lights swept across the fields, the man whispered, "Stay close to me, whatever happens. I will not leave you." And in the shadow of the endless harvest, the small girl and the lone human prepared to defy a world that had no mercy. The night was heavy with silence, yet danger breathed in every shadow. The man held the girl's hand tightly as they moved across the edge of the field. The harvesters roared in the distance, their blades tearing through the crops. Sparks flew into the air like falling stars. Overseers' red lights swept over the land, searching for them. The girl's small steps stumbled, but she forced herself forward, her heart raced. Her chest ached, she whispered, "They will see us." The man's voice was low but steady. "Not if we stay in the dark." He led her into the narrow paths between the tall alien crops. The stalks were sharp, cutting at their skin. The air smelled of oil and ash. Every sound seemed too loud, every breath too heavy. Behind them, the overseers shouted commands. Their metallic voices rolled across the fields. Patrol drones lifted into the sky, glowing like red eyes, scanning, searching. The girl looked up, fear in her voice. "They are hunting us." "Yes," the man whispered. "But we will not be caught." They crouched low. Moving through the crops, the ground was rough, full of broken roots and shards of metal. The girl stumbled again, falling to her knees. The man quickly lifted her up, carrying her in his arms. His muscles burned, but he did not slow. Every step was danger. Every second was borrowed. The path opened into a stretch of barren land. Nothing but dust and stone. To cross meant being seen. To stay meant being trapped. The girl looked at him with wide eyes. "What do we do?" The man's jaw tightened. His eyes scanned the sky. A drone hovered close, its red beam sweeping the ground. He whispered, "We run," and then they did. He sprinted across the barren land. Holding the girl close, the ground shook with each step. The wind tore at his face, the red beam swept past them. Grazing their heels, the drone screeched, its alarm echoing like a beast cry. The overseers shouted louder. Their lights flared. The hunt was on. The girl buried her face against his chest, her voice cracked. "They will kill us, not tonight," the man growled. His legs pushed harder, his heart pounding like drums. Ahead, he spotted a broken structure half buried in the earth. A forgotten transport tunnel, its entrance gaped open like the mouth of a cave. He ran toward it. The drone screamed above them, firing a bolt of light into the ground. Dirt and stone exploded around them. The girl cried out. The man shielded her. Never slowing, with one last leap, he dove into the tunnel. Darkness swallowed them. The drone's beam cut across the opening. But they were already inside. The girl gasped, trembling. Her small hands clung to his shirt. Her voice shook. "We cannot escape. They are everywhere." The man set her down gently. His breath came hard, his face was shadowed. "Listen to me," he said, his voice firm. "I once lost someone. I did nothing. I will not let it happen again." The girl looked at him. Her eyes wide with surprise, she whispered, "That is why you saved me." He nodded slowly, his voice heavy. Yes, the tunnel was cold, lined with broken pipes and old machines. Their footsteps echoed as they moved deeper. The overseer's lights flashed at the entrance, but they dared not follow yet. The tunnels were old, unstable, dangerous even for them as they walked. The girl's voice was soft, almost afraid. "What happens if they catch us?" The man's face hardened. His hand rested on the pipe he carried as a weapon. "Then I fight," he said simply, "and I do not stop." The girl shivered, but she also felt something strange in her chest. A small warmth, a small fire. For the first time, someone would fight for her. The tunnel twisted, leading them deeper underground. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls, signs of old work long abandoned. The man slowed, his eyes narrowing. Something about this place felt different. The girl noticed too, her voice was a whisper. "This tunnel is not like the others." Before the man could answer, a sound echoed ahead and a hum, steady and low. A faint blue light glowed in the darkness. They stepped closer and the girl gasped. Hidden inside the tunnel were old records, strange machines, and glowing crystals that powered forgotten systems. The walls showed carvings of the overseers, harvesters, and symbols of trade. The man touched one of the carvings, his eyes narrowing. "This is no transport tunnel," he muttered. "This is where they hide their secrets." The girl's hands trembled as she read the pictures. Her face went pale. "My people," she whispered. "They knew. They gave the weak away. They made deals with the overseers." Her voice broke. "That is why I was left, not only because I was weak, but because they trade us." The man's fist clenched. His chest burned with fury. He growled, "Children are not trade." "Not in my world." Before she could answer, the tunnel shook. Overseers' voices echoed from behind. Their footsteps were drawing near. The lights flashed in the darkness. The man grabbed her hand, pulling her behind one of the broken machines, his voice sharp, "Quiet. Stay low." The overseers entered the chamber, tall and armored. Their red eyes glowed as they scanned the room. One of them hissed, "They are here!" The girl's heart raced. She pressed against the man, her breath shaky. The overseer's weapon hummed, glowing brighter. The man's grip tightened on his pipe. His eyes burned with fire. He whispered, "Stay behind me, whatever happens." "Do not run!" The overseer stepped closer. Its mask reflected the faint blue glow of the chamber. Its voice was cold. "You cannot escape, human. Give her up. And maybe you live." The man's jaw set. His voice was iron. "No." The overseer raised its weapon. The chamber shook with light. The girl closed her eyes, her small hands gripping the man's arm. Her heart pounded so loud she thought the overseer would hear it. And then, the man moved. The chamber shook as the overseer stepped forward, its weapon glowing with deadly red light. The girl pressed against the man's side, her breath sharp and fast. She could feel the heat of the weapon even before it fired. The man did not wait. He swung the broken pipe with all his strength. The metal struck the overseer's mask. Sparks burst in the dark. The overseer staggered, but did not fall. It hissed with fury, its voice cold and sharp. Another overseer entered the chamber, taller, its armor glowing faintly blue. Their weapons hummed together, filling the tunnel with a low, deadly sound. The man pulled the girl back behind one of the broken machines. His voice urgent, "Stay down!" The overseers fired. Red bolts tore through the old walls. Stone cracked. Dust rained down. The machine sparked as wires snapped. The girl covered her ears and cried out. The tunnel groaned as if the earth itself was angry. The man's mind raced. He could not fight two overseers in the open. He looked around quickly, and then he saw it. A narrow crawl space behind the broken records. Dark and small, he grabbed the girl's hand. "This way," he whispered. His voice was steady, but his eyes burned with fire. They crawled through the small space. The girl's hands scraped against sharp stone. Her knees bled, but she did not stop. Behind them, the overseers roared, breaking machines apart, hunting. The crawl space opened into another hidden chamber. Larger, stranger, its walls were lined with glowing crystals, and in the center stood a tall machine covered in carvings. The girl gasped, her eyes wide. "What is this?" The man stepped closer. His hand brushed away dust from the carvings. His eyes narrowed as he read the symbols. It showed overseers standing above her people. It showed hands offering children. It showed the harvesters taking both crops and lives. The girl's voice shook. "It is true," she whispered. "My people trade away the weak. They give them to the overseers. That is why my family left me." Her knees gave out. She fell to the ground, her face pale, her hands covered her mouth. The truth cut deeper than the blades of the harvesters. The man knelt beside her, his voice firm but gentle. "This is not your fault. They chose to obey. But you are not worthless. You are alive. And that means something." The girl shook her head. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "They never loved me." They only feared the overseers. They gave me away as if I was nothing. The man's jaw tightened. His eyes dark with anger, he looked back at the carvings. His voice sharp. They are wrong. Children are not nothing. Not to me. Before he could say more, the chamber shook again. Overseers' voices echoed closer. The sound of boots hammered through the tunnels. The man stood, pulling the girl to her feet. His eyes searched the chamber for an escape, and then he saw a crack in the wall, narrow but large enough for them to squeeze through. They rushed toward it, but before they could enter, a voice rang out behind them, deep and cruel. "Human!" the overseer leader growled. Its tall shadow filled the chamber. Its mask glowed red. "You defy us, you protect the weak, why?" The man turned, his eyes steady. "Because she is worth saving," the overseer hissed, its mask twisting. "Worthless. All of them are worthless. They serve, they die. That is all." The girl clung to the man's arm, her small body trembling. But when she heard the overseer's words, something inside her burned, she whispered. "I am not worthless," her voice was small. But the overseer paused, surprised for a moment. Silence filled the chamber. The man held her closer. His voice rose, strong and clear. "She has more worth than you will ever understand. And I will fight for her." The overseer's mask glowed brighter. Its weapon lifted, the chamber filled with deadly red light. The man pushed the girl through the crack in the wall. "Go!" he shouted, his voice thundered with urgency. She crawled quickly, her hands shaking. Her heart racing. Behind her, she heard the clash of metal, the roar of the overseer, the shout of the man. When she finally reached the other side, she turned back, her eyes wide with fear. She saw the man struggling, swinging his pipe again and again. Sparks lit the chamber. The overseer pressed forward. "Stronger, heavier," the girl cried out. "No!" Her voice echoed through the tunnel. The man glanced back at her, his eyes sharp, filled with fire. "Run!" he shouted. Tears blurred her sight, but she obeyed. Her legs carried her down the dark tunnel. The sound of battle followed her, roars, screams, the crash of machines breaking. At last she stumbled into another chamber. Smaller, quieter. Here the records were older. Their carvings faint, but when she looked, she saw something different. It showed not just overseers ruling, but also rebellion, a figure of a man, not alien, not overseer, but human, standing tall against the machines. Her heart pounded. She touched the carving, her hand trembling. Could this be a sign? Could humans always have been part of the overseer's fear? Before she could think more, the man staggered into the chamber. His body bruised, his pipe broken. Blood stained his arm, but his eyes were still burning. The girl rushed to him, her voice breaking. "You came back." He knelt, his breath heavy. "I told you. I will not leave you." The overseer's voices echoed again. Closer, the hunt was not over. The girl clutched his arm, her voice shaking but fierce. "We must keep running." The man nodded slowly, his jaw set, his eyes hard. "Yes, but not forever. One day we must stand. And when that day comes, the overseers will learn what it means to face a human." The girl looked at him, her fear mixed with something new, a spark of courage, and as the overseers closed in, the two of them slipped deeper into the hidden tunnels, carrying with them the secret truth of betrayal and the burning fire of defiance. The tunnels shook with each step of the harvesters above. Their blades tore through the earth, grinding the soil, sending tremors into the dark passages below. The man leaned against the wall, his arm bleeding. The girl clung to him, her face pale but her eyes wide with worry. She whispered, "You are hurt." He shook his head. His breath came heavy, but his voice was steady. "I am alive." "That is enough." They moved deeper into the tunnels, but the overseers' voices echoed behind them, sharp and angry. The sound of weapons hummed, drawing closer. The girl's heart pounded. She whispered, "They will not stop. They will hunt us forever." The man nodded grimly. "Yes," he said, "unless we make them stop." Her eyes widened. She stared at him, but how? "They are too strong. They have the machines, the harvesters, the weapons." The man's gaze was fierce, his jaw tight. "Machines are only machines. They can break, and overseers bleed like anyone else." Before the girl could answer, the tunnel shook violently. A roar filled the air. A harvester's blades cut through the ceiling. Metal teeth screeched against stone. Dust rained down. The ground split open. The girl screamed as light and fire poured into the tunnel. The harvester's massive head forced its way inside, its blades spinning, tearing the walls apart. The man grabbed her hand, pulling her back. "Run!" he shouted. His voice thundered through the chaos. They sprinted through the collapsing tunnel. The harvester crashed behind them, its blades biting through earth and stone. The sound was like a monster tearing the world apart. But soon they reached a dead end. The wall was solid rock, no way forward, no escape. The girl's chest rose and fell quickly, her voice broke. "We are trapped." The man stood tall, his eyes locked on the approaching harvester. Its blades glowed red in the dust. Its sensors scanned the chamber. He held the broken pipe in his hand, his grip tight. The girl tugged his arm, her eyes wide with terror. "You cannot fight that. It will kill you." The man's voice was steady, fierce. "If I do nothing, it kills us both. If I fight, we have a chance." The girl's tears fell. Her voice cracked. "Why do you keep risking yourself? Why do you care?" He looked at her, his eyes burning with fire. "Because you matter," he said. "Because someone must stand." "And I will be that someone," the harvester roared forward. Its blades spun faster, sparks filled the chamber. The ground split apart. The man moved, his eyes scanning the chamber quickly. He saw the old machines, broken but still wired into the walls. He saw the glowing crystals pulsing with faint light. An idea struck him like lightning. He shouted, "Stay back!" Then he ran toward the machines, slamming his pipe against the broken wires. Sparks leapt into the air. The crystals glowed brighter, humming. The harvester's sensors detected the surge. It focused on him, its blades shrieked. The girl cried out, "No!" But the man stood firm, his arm steady as he forced the wires together. The chamber exploded with light. A surge of energy shot through the machines, racing into the harvester's sensors. The giant machine screeched, its blades spun wildly. Its lights flickered, it shuddered, slamming into the walls, tearing itself apart. The ground shook like an earthquake. The ceiling cracked, dust and stone rained down. The man was thrown back by the force. His body slammed against the wall. The girl ran to him, her small hands pulling at his arm, her voice desperate. "Get up. Please get up." His chest rose slowly. His eyes opened, his voice was weak but steady. "Still alive," the harvester screamed one last time, then collapsed. Its blade snapped, its frame burning. The tunnel filled with smoke and fire. The girl's eyes shone with awe. She whispered, "You destroyed it, you beat the harvester." The man pushed himself up, his face grim. "One machine, there are many more. And overseers will not forgive this." The girl looked at him. But this time her fear was mixed with something new. A spark of courage, her voice was small but strong. "Then we fight again." The man stared at her, surprised, but then he smiled faintly. "Yes," he said, "we fight again." Suddenly, the sound of overseers echoed down the tunnel, their footsteps sharp, their voices filled with rage. They had seen the fall of the harvester, and they would not allow defiance to spread. The girl's hand gripped his tightly, her voice urgent, "We must go, they are coming." He nodded, pulling her toward another crack in the wall. The chamber burned behind them, smoke rising like a warning to the world above. As they escaped into the night air, the overseer's horns rang across the fields. The harvesters roared louder. Machines poured into the darkness, hunting. But this time something had changed. The girl no longer walked in silence. She looked up at the man with fire in her eyes. "They call us worthless, but I'm not worthless," she whispered. "I will not be left again." The man's grip tightened on her hand, his voice firm. "No, you will not." And together, under the pale moons, with the harvester's blades roaring in the distance, the human and the small alien girl stood ready to face the storm. The night air was sharp and cold. The man and the girl stood at the edge of the broken field. Behind them, smoke rose from the ruined harvester. Flames licked the sky like angry tongues. The overseer's horns echoed across the land, calling every machine, every patrol. The girl clutched his hand tightly. Her chest rose and fell quickly. Her small voice trembled. "They will come for us. All of them." The man's eyes burned with steady fire. His jaw was tight. "Then let them come," he said across the horizon. Red lights appeared one by one. Like stars of blood, drones lifted into the air. Overseer patrols marched across the fields. And worse, the harvesters moved, dozens of them, their blades roaring, their massive frames shaking the ground. The girl's knees shook. Fear filled her chest. "We cannot fight so many." The man looked down at her. His voice was calm but fierce. "We will not fight alone." She blinked, confused, but then she saw them in the shadows of the field. Workers were watching, silent men, women. and children with tired faces and broken hands. They had seen the harvester fall. They had seen one human defy the overseers. Whispers spread, soft but growing. He fights. He protects. He saved the child. The overseers shouted. Their voices sharp, return to work, obey. But the workers did not move. Their eyes stayed fixed on the man and the girl. For the first time, something stirred inside them. Not fear, but hope. The man lifted the broken pipe in his hand. He shouted across the field, his voice strong enough to cut through the roar of the machines. She is not worthless. The girl gasped. Her heart pounded as his words carried across the night. She is alive. The man roared, his voice thundered, and she matters. Every one of you matters. The overseers hissed with rage, their weapons glowed. Silence, they shouted. No one matters but the harvest. The girl's small voice broke the air, soft but clear. I matter. The workers heard. The overseers froze, and the girl's voice rose again, stronger. I am not worthless. The overseers raised their weapons. The harvesters roared forward, their blades spinning. The earth shook like the sky was falling. The man pulled the girl close, his voice was steady. Stay behind me. He planted his feet in the dirt, his eyes locked on the nearest harvester. The workers gasped, watching. The machines bore down. Then at the last second, the man moved. He struck the ground with the broken pipe, smashing the old wires hidden beneath the soil. Sparks shot through the earth, racing into the harvester's sensors. The machine screamed, its lights flickered. Its blades spun out of control. It crashed into another harvester. Metal slammed against metal. Sparks filled the sky. The workers cried out in shock. The overseers shouted orders. The harvesters lurched, smashing into each other. The field burned with fire and chaos. The man stood tall, his voice thundered. They are not gods. They are not unbreakable. They can fall. The girl's eyes shone. Her voice trembled but fierce. And we will not be left for the blades. For a moment silence filled the burning field. Then the workers began to move. Slowly at first, then faster. They grabbed stones, metal scraps, old tools. Their voices rose together, shouting against the overseers. The overseers fired their weapons. Red bolts tore through the crowd, but the workers did not stop. They surged forward like a wave, driven by fear. But more than fear, by defiance, by hope. The girl clung to the man's side, her voice urgent. They are fighting because of you. The man's eyes burned, his voice was strong. No, they fight because of you. He looked down at her. Because one human noticed you, and because you believed you mattered. The overseers tried to rally, their horns blaring, their commands sharp, but the harvesters fell one by one, their systems failing as the workers tore into them. Fire lit the sky. The ground shook with their fall. The leader of the overseers stepped forward, its mask glowing red, its weapon raised. It shouted with fury. You cannot win. You are nothing. The man stepped in front of the girl. His voice was iron. She is not nothing, she is mine. The overseer froze, its mask tilted. Yours? The man's voice cut through the night, strong and unshaken. She is under my protection. She is family now. The girl's breath caught. Her heart pounded, she whispered, family. The word felt strange, but warm. The overseer screamed with rage. Charging forward, but the workers surged around it, dragging it down. Its mask cracked. Its weapon fell, and for the first time the overseers were not feared, but broken. The fire spread, the harvesters collapsed. The overseers fled into the night. The field shook with the sound of rebellion.